You're watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
Welcome to where everybody knows your name. Now, speaking of cheers, there'll be plenty of them at Fenway Park, at least for those guys. When the Yankees step into the picture, maybe not so much. Whatever the case may be, it is time for baseball as the Yes Network presents New York Yankees baseball. It's the New York Yankees against the Boston Red Sox in the first of three from Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yankees baseball. Along with Ken Singleton, I'm Michael Kay. Well, the Yankees start the second month of the season, and the first month not too bad. When you finish a month in first place, Kenny, you'll take it.
Well, look at the numbers. They would tell the Yankees got off to somewhat of a slow start. The first 9 ball games, 3-6. And the last 13 games, look at that. They've turned it around. 10-3. It all adds up to being in first place, 13-9 record. They're not exactly crying Mayday on this first day of May.
And the last 13, Kenny, they all grew mustaches. Maybe that has something to do with it. Tonight's pitching matchup brought to you by People's United Bank NA. See what know-how can do for you. Justin Masterson will get the start for the Red Sox. And for the Yankees, it's CC Sabathia looking for his first win of the year, coming off probably his worst start.
Yeah, but there was some good pitching by CC, although he's 0-4. The good pitching came to Detroit. He won a complete game, but he lost the ball game by a score 2-1. He was excellent against the Tigers, just edged out. His last start, as you said, Michael, was not so good. This is against the Mets. CC allowed 7 runs in this particular ball game. He's given up 4 home runs this year. 3 of them were hit by the New York Mets in that ball game.
Yankees are looking some offense in this game, and the Red Sox as well against Sabathia, 2 of the hottest offensive players, at least power-wise, for both teams. Coming up in just a moment, we'll break it down about Ramirez and Teixeira next on Yes. Early, Kenny, but both of these guys have changed things for their team.
Yeah, Mark Teixeira having his best April ever as far as home runs and runs batted in are concerned. 8 home runs, 18 runs batted in for the switch hitting first baseman. And for the Boston Red Sox, Hanley Ramirez. The Red Sox picked up this year, off to a great start. He's hit 6 home runs in his last 11 games, gives him a total of 10. He's tied for the league lead with Nelson Cruz of the Seattle Mariners. He also has 22 runs batted in. tied for the lead.
Speaking of league leaders, the Honda League leaders show us Ramirez and Cruz up top. Then Teixeira's tied with the Dodgers' Adrian Gonzalez, and tied with 7, Joey Votto and Todd Frazier, and they are teammates from the Cincinnati Reds. A lot of stuff to think about. We have a big series on tap here this weekend. Fans filing into Fenway Park. Another sellout expected. Yankees and the Red Sox. Lineups, first pitch, baseball. Next on Yes. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. By Mazda. Mazda is KBB.com's lowest cost-to-own brand in over 5 years. And by RE/MAX. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX. It certainly has an autumnal feel to it, despite the date being May 1st. Very chilly here in New England. So why don't we take a look at the real weather conditions, brought to you by Bigelow Tea. 43 degrees, 61% humidity, not much wind. The forecast is cloudy and chilly. Yankees had yesterday off. So did the Red Sox. Red Sox took 2 out of 3 from Toronto. And the Yankees also took 2 out of 3, but they lost the last game of their series at Yankee Stadium against Tampa Bay. Well, the Red Sox have taken the field, so why don't we take a look at tonight's Yankees starting lineup, which is presented by Lexus. And Joe Girardi went with all left-handers, 6 lefties and 3 switch hitters. Jacoby Ellsbury in center field will lead off, batting second. Playing left field, Brett Gardner. Mark Teixeira's at first base, he'll hit third. Cleaning up the catcher, Brian McCann. Carlos Beltran's in right field, he'll bat fifth. Batting sixth, playing third base, Chase Headley. Garrett Jones gets the start at DH as A-Rod has the night off. He'll bat seventh. Batting eighth and playing second base, Stephen Drew. And Didi Gregorius, the shortstop, will bat ninth.
Well, in the middle of the diamond there, the tall right-hander, 6'6" Justin Masterson, will be doing the pitching for the Boston Red Sox, and there are his numbers on the year. 2-0 record despite a lofty ERA of 5.16, 20 strikeouts in 22 2/3 innings, along with 9 walks. Let's check out the pitcher scatter report, brought to you by your Honda dealers. Kind of full circle for Justin Masterson. He actually was drafted and signed by the Boston Red Sox. He was traded to Cleveland, eventually went to St. Louis, and now back with the Boston Red Sox. And speaking of being with the Red Sox, he made his major league debut right here at Fenway Park, April 24th, 2008. He went 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 2 hits to the Angels, and the next day he was back in the minor leagues. He throws a heavy sinker, gets a lot of ground ball outs. In fact, 46% of the outs he gets are on ground balls.
Why don't we check out the defense behind Justin Masterson, and it's presented by Geico. Andy Ramirez can hit, but he's not a great left fielder. That's where he is. Mookie Betts outstanding in center. Alan Craig over right. In the infield, Sandoval, Bogarts, Pedroia, and Napoli. Third to first. Hannigan's behind the plate. And on the mound, as Kenny just told you, it is Justin Masterson. So the Yankees come in at 13-9. Red Sox 12-10. Crowd still boos Jacoby Ellsbury, who left as a free agent and signed with the Yankees. This is his second year with the Yankees. He came up with the Red Sox.
Maybe they're booing because he's played so well against the Boston Red Sox.
Playing well of late. Average up to 321, a home run, 3 runs batted in. On base percentage of .406.
That's pretty steady.
Ellsbury's ready. Masterson is ready. And let's do it here at Fenway. There's a strike. And we are underway. Chris Guccione, the home plate umpire. Corey Blazer at first. Jeff Nelson at second. And Laz Diaz is over at third. Sandoval in on the grass at third. There's a line drive to right field. It is a base hit in front of Craig. So Ellsbury, on the second pitch of the night, picks up the first hit.
He's had 2 consecutive games where he's had 3 hits. He's off to a good start tonight. He's been running a lot lately too. He's up to 8 stolen bases on the year. That's 1 off the league lead, held by Jose Altuve, who led last year when Ellsbury finished second to him.
You see Ellsbury sporting that somewhat wispy mustache. The guy who's digging into the box. Brett Gardner came up with the idea. The Yankees got off to a 3-6 start, and on April 17th he said, why don't we grow mustaches? Many are participating. Don't exactly have a Raleigh fingers on the roster, but they're trying.
You know, Michael, you were talking about Ellsbury's on base percentage, .406, which has just gone up. You know, he and Gardner are the table setters. And Gardner's on base percentage an even .400. Now, you know me, I'm down with OBP. The table setters, there they are. In each of his last 3 games, Ellsbury has at least 1 stolen base.
3 Astros, and Jacoby among the 3 Astros. We're off to a surprising start.
Astros have a 4-game lead in the West over the Angels.
Yep. Astros are 15-7. 9-1 in their last 10 games. One. Fly ball left field. Ramirez makes the play. Hustling back to first. Ellsbury.
You were talking about Hanley Ramirez and out in left field. That he is still kind of feeling his way, particularly here at Fenway Park. It can be difficult, but once you get the hang of it, to me, when I came here to play with, I usually played right field during the season. They would move me to left field because it felt like a highlight player. You just get it off the wall, throw it back in. The whole thing is to know where you are out there, how close you are to the wall when you're going after the ball.
Well, he had a very adventurous 3-game set at Yankee Stadium where the Red Sox took 2 of 3.
Left field at Yankee Stadium might be the toughest, certainly as far as the amount of territory to cover. Right field is the expansive portion of the outfield here at Fenway Park. A lot of room to cover.
Well, they have the extreme shift on for Teixeira. 3 infielders on the right side.
It is probably the only outfield position in baseball where the right fielder plays deeper than the foul pole.
Teixeira's been one of the Yankees' most effective hitters with 8 home runs and 18 runs batted in, but the batting average is .216. Coming off an American League Player of the Week award.
I think the thing for him, Michael, and you mentioned batting average is low, but 13 of his hits are extra base hits. including the 8 home runs.
And he walked him on 4 pitches. Now, we told you the Yankee lineup is all left-handed, and Joe Girardi produced stats before the game where he said that Masterson struggles against lefties and does not struggle against righties. So guys that have been very hot for the Yankees like Chris Young, and guys that have produced power-wise and RBI-wise like A-Rod, not in the lineup against the righty.
And a lot of it has to do with his delivery from the windup, because he kind of sort of like almost sidearms it and gets a lot of sinking action on his fastball, and that's why he gets a lot of ground balls. So he struggled with his control in the past. The last time the Yankees faced him, he was pitching for Cleveland, and he lasted only 2 innings in that game. Gave up 5 runs in the 2 innings.
Ellsbury's at second, Teixeira's at first, 1 man out. Here's Brian McCann. McCann's approach this year, especially while the pitcher's looking for the sign, is different than last year. He is straight up and down with his bat resting on his shoulder, and then when the pitcher starts to deliver, he goes into a bit of a crouch.
He flexes. Virginia flex.
Kind of looks like he's holding an umbrella waiting for a bus. Count 1-1 to McCann.
And even though Masterson is basically a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, and usually you see that combination from guys working out of the bullpen, they can be effective. His slider's very good, particularly to right-handers, but he's not going to see any right-handers tonight. In a sinker, he's going to have to rely on that to keep it down and get grounders.
High fly ball, left field. Ramirez makes the play. 2 down. Here's Beltran.
Here's the guy the Yankees would like to get going. We saw the numbers that they're not good through April. But it's a long season.
Sometimes the back of a baseball card gives you a much longer leash.
It does, and in the case of Beltran, I would agree with you. He was 2 for 19 on the homestand.
Line into left center field. It is a base hit. It'll split the outfielders and go to the monster. Scoring is Ellsbury. They will hold up Teixeira at third. It's an RBI double for Carlos Beltran, and the Yankees are on the board with a run.
Well, that's what they're looking for from Carlos Beltran. He can turn the page on a new month. Pitcher's supposed to be up and in, but you can see it just drifted back towards the middle of the plate, and Beltran didn't miss it. Ran it up the gap in left center field. And the Red Sox outfield is going to have to run this one down, and the Yankees pick up a run here in the first inning.
Here's Chase Headley. Second and third now with 2 outs. A run in. Just underway here at Fenway. Beginning of a 3-game set. And a strike. The 0-1. Hit sharply to second. Down on one knee as Pedroia makes the play, and that will do it. The Yankees get a run on 2 hits and 2 men left. It's the Yankees 1. The Boston Red Sox come to bat. Guy in the middle with the glasses. Former guest on Center Stage. Great actor. Let's take a look at the Red Sox starting lineup. Mookie Betts in center field will lead off. Dustin Pedroia at second. David Ortiz DHs and hits third. Cleaning up the left fielder Hanley Ramirez. Mike Napoli off to a slow start offensively. He'll be at first base batting fifth. Batting sixth, playing third base, Pablo Sandoval. Alan Craig in right field bat seventh. Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, will hit eighth and batting ninth and catching. Ryan Hannigan.
There's CC Sabathia. He's trying to get into the win column. He is 0-4. Been ups and downs this year. You can see the numbers. They aren't particularly good, especially the .313 batting average against, and that is primarily the right-handed hitters who have given him problems.
And the pitch to Betts. There's a strike.
Let's check out the pitcher scouting report brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. That was the date of CeCe's last win, and it came right here at Fenway Park over a year ago. One thing he's got to do, avoid the big inning. That seems to be his problem. One bad inning.
That one is driven to left field. Gardner makes the play on the track for the first out.
And an even dozen. If CeCe can win tonight's ball game, it would level his record against the Boston Red Sox at 12-12 in his career.
The 0-4 start, close to a 6 ERA, is weighing on Sabathia more than it is anybody. And it's certainly not for lack of trying. It hasn't clicked. He looked good in that game against Detroit, but not in the game against the Mets.
And you can see he's kind of frustrated with all this. I mean, here's a guy who's got 208 major league wins. And for a while there, before the injuries started to plague him, they were talking about him possibly winning 300 games.
Pedroia with a high fly ball to left field.
Shoes are tight.
Gardner makes the play for the second out. Let's check out the Yankee defense behind Sabathia. It's brought to you by Geico. Gardner, Ellsbury, and Beltran left to right in the outfield. Infield, Headley, Gregorius, Drew, and Teixeira. That's third to first. McCann's behind the plate, and Karsten Charles Sabathia is on the mound.
Well, these Red Sox are a tough test for any pitcher. They've got some very hot hitters. Pedroia's one. Big Papi's another. Ortiz, Ramirez certainly. Sandoval's been hitting the ball pretty well.
Here's David Ortiz. Starting to heat up of late. 5 hits in his last 10 at bats, has the average up to 236.
Yeah, I think he was on the interstates when we saw him earlier in the season.
(2-0) to the man they call Big Papi.
CC has held left-handed hitters to a 133 batting average.
Shows bunt takes a strike. That was just a bluff. The whole left side of the infield is open, as the Yankees have 3 infielders on the right side.
As I mentioned, the right-handed hitters have given CC problems. They're hitting .345.
3-1 to Ortiz. Crowd still filing into Fenway. Beginning of a 3-game series this weekend. And what a sports weekend it is.
Goodness.
Got a big fight in Vegas. Got the NFL draft going on. You've got some big hockey and NBA games.
Kentucky Derby.
Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Good stuff. And the 3-2.
And we talked about Ortiz being out 7 for 20 his last 4 games. And he's really hit well here at Fenway Park, like a lot of these Red Sox do. You know, coming here as a a hitter back in the day, you felt like there was 2 hits out here for you every night. As a left-handed hitter, you're up there left-handed. Even if you're a little late and you hit a decent fly ball left field clanging off the wall, you got at least a single, maybe a double. If you're batting right-handed, anything they leave inside, you pull it with any authority. You can home run off the wall. You can look out there. It's almost as if you could touch it. It's that close.
Three-two. Popped up. Left field. Gardner comes in, makes the play, and ties a major league record with 3 putouts held by many. We go to the second. 1-0 Yanks. So the Yankees finished April in first place. Red Sox and the Rays right behind. 1 game back. Orioles 2 back. And the Blue Jays 2.5.
What do they say? You could throw a blanket over the division? That's about right.
Yankees go to Toronto after Sunday night's game. Here is Garrett Jones, the DH. It'll be 7-8-9 against Masterson. And that one is driven into left center. Ramirez is there to make the play for the first out.
Here is the team scouting report brought to you by Mohegan Sun on the Boston Red Sox. First things first. The Red Sox have won the first game of every series they have played this year. One more. If they do it tonight, that would tie a team record. They got the most patient hitters in the league. They lead the league in walks. The Yankees are tied for second. But their starters' earned run average and their team earned run average overall is the worst in Major League Baseball. Their pitchers have not done. In fact, they had a team meeting today. Just the pitchers. And I bet you it was about pitching better. Not any worse.
Well, when this team was built, Kenny, they kind of thought, you know what, we're going to outscore people. And we'll get by with 5 number 3s that have the potential to play higher. They have not played higher than number 3 sort of starters. If anything, they've played lower. I mean, starting staff can't have a close to 6 ERA, and you're not going to outscore teams that much. But the Red Sox president, Larry Lucchino, said, hey, we have a plan B and we have a plan C.
Well, let's see. Buchholz is 5.76. Masterson is 5.16. Porcello 5.34. And who else is
Miley?
Yeah, Miley. Ooh, he's pitching tomorrow. 8.62 ERA. And he pitched well at Yankee Stadium.
And then Joe Kelly is the fifth.
And Joe Kelly?
And that's the last year on the left, the starting staff. As Drew goes down on strikes.
Yeah, Kelly's 4.94. So he's got the best ERA of the group.
A lot of turnover for the Red Sox. Every time they have a bad year, they kind of hit the reset button. And it's worked for them. I mean, the thought process of a guy like Billy Beane, the GM of the A's. First third of the year, you see what you got. Second third of the year, you try to make changes. The final third, that's your final team, and you see if they can do it. The 0-1 to Gregorius.
Well, usually through injury, you're going to have to make changes anyway, but you're talking about changes made because guys aren't playing well. Mentioned last year, Masterson pitched one game against the Yankees. That was on July 7th in Cleveland. And didn't last very long, but that particular day he pitched and you could see he was limping around. The next day he went on the disabled list with inflammation in the knee. And he really it looked like a struggle for him just to deliver the ball that night.
Hit softly to short. Bogarts gets Gregorius for the final out of the inning as the Yankees are retired in order by Masterson. 1-2-3. We go to the bottom of the second. 1-0 Yankees. Official hybrid vehicle of the Yankees. Considering the time of year, do you think this weekend is as good as it can get for sports fans? Monica AE 923, an embarrassment of riches. Whatever your sport of choice, there's something of significance occurring. Yes, Monica, you're right. Hanley Ramirez takes outside. Follow Yes Network and tweet us your responses using hashtag. Now, this is a new one. Hashtag Yankees Camry Hybrid to keep the conversation going.
You know what?
What?
Remotes are going to be on overload this weekend.
And DVRs are going to be humming.
Oh, yes, they will.
Well, Ramirez, one of the big free agent signings for the Red Sox. He's certainly done his part in April. 10 home runs, 22 runs batted in. Still a work in progress at left, but he's a shortstop by trade. And they certainly have a shortstop, so they want to get his bat in the lineup. And they don't have room at DH. So they put him in the left field.
The oddity about him hitting, and he's off to a pretty good start. 293, 10 home runs, 22 runs batted in. It's the most home runs he's ever had in April. But he's got 10 home runs, no doubles, no triples. So it's an extra base hit. It's leaving the yard.
Count 2-2.
They went out and signed him and Sandoval because the Red Sox offense wasn't up to par. I mean, if you play half your games in Fenway Park, you better be able to bring some thunder. So they went out and got Ramirez, Sandoval. Sandoval's hitting over 300. Ramirez is just underneath. So they're both swinging the bat pretty well.
Ground ball to Gregorius. One away here in the second. Here's some of the moves that the Red Sox made during the offseason. $95 million for 5 years for Sandoval and $88 for 4 years for Ramirez. So Sandoval was with the Giants and Ramirez was with the Dodgers.
You think Sandoval walked in and showed off the 3 World Series rings?
Didn't hurt.
No. In the last 5 years. He should be worth an extra year.
Well, he shocked a lot of people leaving the Giants. He is revered out of it, at least he was. Kung Fu Panda, they wore panda hats. But it is a business, and he left. Here's Mike Napoli. Grounded to third, but foul.
Yeah, one of the few Red Sox not swinging the bat very well. He's 0 for his last 8. And just been struggling. 162. And Yankee fans know that's not Mike Napoli.
You wonder, Kenny, if he's a little bit weaker than he was, and that's building up. He had that major surgery on his jaw because he had trouble sleeping and breathing, and they cut away part of the jaw. Obviously, he lost weight because he couldn't eat as much during the offseason. But he's sleeping much better. It's a serious ailment for a lot of people, and he really took drastic steps to correct it.
Now, didn't he have his jaw wired shut for like a month or something like that?
I believe so. Grounded to Headley. 2 away.
Anytime you see a right-handed hitter pull the ball on the ground, either Headley or Gregorius at short, it's usually the changeup from CC Sabathia. Gets them out in front, and they roll over on it and hit the ground balls. Take a look at the last pitch here. Maybe a little cutter or something. It was off speed, and you can see that Napoli was out in front. Pulled it on the ground to Headley.
Well, here's the aforementioned Sandoval.
A switch hitter who's not done much on this side of the plate. He's only had 19 at bats, but he's got just 1 hit batting right-handed. Now his average at 312 would tell you that he's really wearing it out on the other side of the plate, and he is. He's hitting almost 400 as a left-handed hitter.
Some controversy early. He was in spring training, standing at third. People were hitting him grounders, and somebody took a picture that was quite unflattering, looking like he had a really big stomach. And
I saw that picture.
Yeah, he suffered a lot of barbs on Twitter. He said, "I don't care what people think. That's a bad camera angle. I'm in fine shape."
Well, when he first came up, he was a catcher with the Giants. They switched him over to third base.
I just think he's a big guy.
Yeah, well,
he's going to stay big, and as long as you win and hit.
He's the panda.
And that was a concern throughout baseball when he became a free agent. Everyone knows he's a good player. Would that body type hold up over the course of a 5-year contract?
The Red Sox are the team is willing to find out.
The 1-2. Slow roller foul.
Now, from the Red Sox standpoint, or any American League standpoint, team, he could become a DH if he can't handle the field anymore. He might be the successor to David Ortiz after Big Papi decides to hang him up, if he ever does. Now he's giving CC quite a battle. He's fouled off several pitches down in the count. CC's looking for something to put him away. Get out of the inning.
That one is driven to left field. And that is going to be off the monster. Played beautifully by Gardner, and he holds Sandoval to a single. Red Sox first hit.
And only the second hit batting right-handed for Sandoval this year. It looked like CC hung himself on the inner half of the plate. Target's low and in, and you know what? It was on the inner third, but it was down where he could just drop the bat on it and lines it off the wall in left field. Out there near the standings. Oh, you can see the Yankees are on top by a game as the ball is thrown back in by Brett Gardner, who played it well. He played it as well as Carl Yastrzemski ever did.
That's one of those times where the wall taketh away. Alan Craig takes a strike from Sabathia.
Craig getting a rare start tonight. It's only the fourth start in right field, and the first this season since he's been with the Red Sox. I think John Farrell wanted to get him into the game against the left-handed throwing CC Sabathia. He's off to a slow start. He hasn't been in the lineup very much.
Well, they have an embarrassment of riches of outfielders. They've got some in the minor leagues that would be in a lot of teams' big league clubs, and maybe that's plan B or C to trade some of that excess for better pitching as the season moves on. The 0-2. Strike three. Craig down looking as CC rings up his first strikeout. No runs a hit, no errors, and one man left on base. Go to the third. It's 1-0 Yankees.
everything as we head to the top of the third. I'm Meredith Morakovitz. It's time now for the injury update brought to you by Montefiore Medical Center, Montefiore Inspired Medicine. Andrew Bailey has been shut down with a shoulder strain. He was a guy that looked like he had an opportunity to make the 25-man roster coming out of spring. However, the Yankees wanted to make sure that he could pitch back-to-back days. He's coming back from a shoulder injury, so they sent him down to the minors. Bailey actually did that for the first time Friday and Saturday. After that, he said he had some soreness in his shoulder, went for an MRI, which revealed the strain. So he's been moved from the single-A Tampa team to the extended spring roster, and the Yankees are hoping, as he tries to come back and pitch in the majors for the first time since 2013, that this is just a minor misstep and not a major issue for Bailey.
Well, thank you, Meredith. Obviously, that was something the Yankees had in their back pocket that might improve their bullpen, but Brian Cashman said it was always a long shot. Guy coming back from shoulder surgery, the odds aren't good. Would have been great for them if Andrew Bailey could have been that guy, but this is not something that ends the season. But he has had shoulder problems, and now he's been shut down for a while. Audi A3 scoreboard, 1-0 Yanks.
Yeah, former All-Star.
Ground ball to short. Bogarts gets Ellsbury on the way here in the third. Now you saw Meredith was outside, all bundled up. Nice looking scarf.
It's chilly.
If you look at all of the broadcast booths, we all have the windows closed because we're gutless, except for John and Susan. Now, this has nothing to do, Kenny, with their bravery. They cannot see through their window. Their window is all scratched and can't see through it. So they have to have the window open.
I will tell you this. I've been doing this broadcast for. This is only like the second time I've worked with the window closed.
Really?
Yeah.
If you want it open,
No, Michael. No. The first time was in the World Series in '97 when there was a snowstorm going on in Cleveland. It was like playing in January.
Well, you were smart enough today to bring a coat, and I wasn't. There's a base hit for Gardner. Boston has had some terrible weather. The winter they had in Boston, just from another time, 110.6 inches of snow measured at Logan Airport. Look at Fenway during the winter. It never seemed like it stopped snowing.
Where's the booth?
It's under the snow. John and Susan's booth is under the snow. Wow.
It's unbelievable. Well, one of the table setters is on base. Gardner's up among the league leaders in stolen bases as well. He's 6 out of 7 on the year. He's got the oven mitt on.
Usually that means things are cooking.
Yeah, it's time to bake.
One 0 Yankees. Single by Ellsbury, a walk to Teixeira, and a double by Beltran in the first inning. Plated that run. Grounded to Sandoval. Goes to Bogarts 1. On the first double play, a 5-6-3 double play to end the inning. No runs a hit, no errors, and nobody left on base. We go to the bottom of the third. serious craters there. Xander Bogaerts will lead off 8-9-1 against CC. High fly ball right side in the seats.
I think one of the keys tonight for CC Sabathia is just concentrating on the target. It seems like whenever he has problems with pitches start to drift towards the middle of the plate. Just concentrate on the glove. Target's in. Pitch was in.
And now it's out left field as it goes to the wall. Bogaerts rounds first. He'll go to second with a leadoff double. So Bogaerts is at second. That'll bring up Ryan Hannigan. Let's see if the Red Sox play some small ball here. Bunting. I'll tell you what, right now as we speak, you wonder if it's a distraction to the players in the field. Around the ballpark, there are lights flashing. There are emergency fire lamps, I think. And you can see them if you take a look at that shot that we have. It looks like strobe lights or flashes from an old-time camera. And they're going off as the players are playing this game. We have no idea why they're going off. But nobody's been alerted and nothing's been said over the PA system.
Looked like every one of Derek Jeter's at-bats last year.
Yes. And now they just stopped.
Yeah.
They were just shut off. Going on for a couple of minutes. Getting a little nervous there, Kenneth.
You ready to pack it up?
Oh, it's packed up. I was ready to go. The 0-2. Missed inside. Count 2-2. Hannigan forced into being the everyday catcher. Christian Vasquez, their young catcher, really catcher of the future and the present, hurt his elbow in spring training, shut down for the year. Tommy John surgery, big blow to the Red Sox.
Yeah, they were really counting on him to take over that job this year. Hannigan was supposed to be the backup catcher. And the Red Sox are 10-6 in games that Hannigan has started this year. He comes with the reputation of being a fine receiver, good to can throw out runners at a pretty good clip. He's caught 2 no-hitters in his career. Both were Homer Bailey of the Cincinnati Reds.
And it was announced today Homer Bailey has to have Tommy John surgery in the second year of a 6-year deal. He signed with the Reds. Hannigan's also well known around baseball as a great framer of pitches.
And he's trying to be a hitter and move Bogaerts up if he can.
Bogaerts led off the inning with a double. He's at second, nobody out. The number 9 hitter Hannigan at the plate. The 2-2. 3-2.
See, just missing a couple of pitches here, and Hannigan wouldn't bite.
the way.
You're watching some of these Red Sox hitters foul off pitch after pitch, and you think back a few years ago, and that wouldn't be the case. CC would just rear back, add a few more miles an hour, and they're back to the bench. And now he has to make better pitches, concentrate on location a little bit more than he had to in the past.
Well, McCann wants to talk to CC. Throwing a lot of pitches to Hannigan.
It's almost, these discussions are almost like the pitcher and the catcher saying, we've tried just about everything. What new wrinkle can we come up with on this 3-2 pitch?
Three-two. Foul ball.
They went with the changeup. And Hannigan just got a piece of it.
Usually the more pitches a hitter sees, he has the advantage.
And the reason that happens is because you recognize it a lot better when it comes up there during the course of the bat. The longer you stay up there, you recognize the spin, the speed. You make adjustments quicker.
That one is drilled to left center. On the run is Ellsbury, and he makes the play. Tagging is Bogaerts, and he will go to third. Ellsbury goes into that corner there in left center and hauls it in on the warning track. Take away an extra base hit and save a run.
He got an excellent jump, breaking over his right shoulder, headed for the warning track in right center. Remember Ellsbury, many years here with the Boston Red Sox, knows his park very well. Hauls it in. Bogaerts some good base running, tags up, is going to move over to third, but certainly saving an extra base hit. Let's check out the location on the pitch, and it's right there. And as we said, the longer you stay up there, you recognize a little bit better, and you can see you can't get much more center than that.
Yankees play the infield back. Mookie Betts at the plate. Bogaerts at third. Hannigan fouled off 7 pitches in that at bat before sending the long fly to left center. Fly ball center field. Let's see if Bogaerts scores. The catch is made. The throw is not in time and not handled by McCann. It's a tie game. So a sac fly for Betts.
Red Sox build the run around a leadoff double, a couple of fly balls. Ellsbury steps into it, lets it go. But Bogaerts able to score the tying run. Yep, he did tag up. And you see McCann standing there like nothing's going to happen here. And all of a sudden trying to make that instant sweep tag. It wouldn't have been in time.
Here's Dustin Pedroia. Want to know. Count 2-0. Pedroia with a fly ball to Gardner. Left in the first inning. 287 hitter with 4 home runs and 10 runs batted in. Two and one. Three and one to Pedroia. On deck, Ortiz.
and soul of the ball club. Dusty Pedroia, been that way for a few years, going back to his MVP season in 08.
So Pedroia with a walk. Take a look at tonight's Cold Hard Facts. They're brought to you by Clean, Crisp, Coors Light. And this is about runs per game. The Orioles have the most in the major leagues, 5.6. The Royals are next. The Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees. And the AL is pretty well represented there, 4 of the 5 teams.
I don't think neither the Red Sox or the Yankees would have been in the top 5 last year, that's for sure.
Shift is on for Ortiz. 3 infielders on the right side. And a strike. Now I'm looking at Ortiz's batting gloves, which have nothing to do with the colors of the Red Sox, and I'm wondering if he is an endorser for those pistachio nuts. I mean, even the tape on the bat is green and black. That one is served into left center field. It's a base hit. Cutting it off in the gap is Gardner. They'll throw to second. Moving to third is Pedroia. First and third with 2 men out.
The one thing this ballpark does for David Ortiz, you know, he's not exactly a dead pull hitter. In the last few years, he's become very adept at hitting the ball to the opposite field. And drops a singlet here to keep the inning going, make CC work a little harder here to get that final out.
Pitch count at 52. And here's Hanley Ramirez. Swing and a miss. Ramirez grounded to short in the second. At third is Pedroia. At first is Ortiz. It's a 1-1 game, bottom of the third inning here at Fenway. This ballpark opened up in 1912. Its opening coincided when word of the Titanic going down got back to the States. It's undergone a little bit of a makeover under new ownership with a new press box, this third deck. That one is right back to Sabathia. And he gets Ramirez for the final out. But the Red Sox tied the score, 1 run, 2 hits, and 2 men left. Let's go to the fourth. It's a 1-1 game. loving it. And by the New York Lottery, hey, you never know. Skyline of Boston on a Friday evening. Yankees and the Red Sox. Feels like a New England night. The Lincoln scoreboard, it's identical lines, 1-3-0 to 1-3-0. Here's Brian McCann to lead it off in the fourth. He had a fly ball to the left in the first inning. Red Sox do not shift for McCann as other teams do. Now the third baseman Sandoval way off the line. But Bogarts is not even close to behind second base, so this is a completely different defensive schematic for McCann than every other team. And he grounds it right to Pedroia.
You know, maybe we'll have to see if he comes up with 1 or 2 outs. See if then they make everybody go to the right side, as opposed to leading off an inning where he has shown the propensity every once in a while to go the other way. Maybe that's the new scouting report on McCann. Leading off an inning, maybe not so much with the shift.
I was wondering the same thing, Kenny, because he's one of the guys that does try to go the other way, and he's picking up some hits because of it. So other teams say, well, we're not going to give him that. Beltran wraps one into right field for a base hit. He's 2 for 2. He drove in the Yankee run in the first inning with a double to left center. That one he pulls to right for a single.
You know, Carlos has had a great career, 373 home runs as a switch hitter. But if he looks in the rearview mirror, there's somebody closing in on him, and it's his own teammate. Mark Teixeira's got 371 home runs now as a switch hitter. Here's a solid single in the right field. Pedroia with the leap. No can do, and there's a man on first.
Here's Headley. Pitch misses outside. One and one.
He's the number one number of the Yankees that not really swinging the bat all that well lately too, but he's had a couple of home runs and a double lately.
There's a base hit down the right field line. It'll go into that funky corner played out there by Craig. Rounding third and stopping right there is Beltran, as Headley has himself a double.
Well, maybe the guys who have not been swinging the bat well are starting to come out of it. So Beltran with 2 for 2. Headley now with a double into the corner. The Yankees have a rally going here in the fourth inning. All they needed was to see April come off the calendar. It's now May. As Alan Craig pick it up in the corner, get it back in. That is a funky corner, as Michael said. The ball can roll around and funny things can happen.
Well, here's Garrett Jones in the lineup today to get another lefty in against Masterson. Second and third. Pitch outside. Now Sandoval is way off of third, so that allows Beltran to get a nice sized lead. His lead pretty much equidistant to the space between Sandoval and third.
Out in front on something off speed. Now Jones has not had that many at bats this year. He's
5 for 28.
Yeah, and 3 of those hits came in one game.
3 infielders on the right side for Jones. Last 6 seasons, Jones has had at least 15 home runs in each of those seasons. So that's what the Yankees are expecting from him, but they've got to get him at bats to get him right. Becomes kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, hitting is about timing, and how do you get your timing if you're sitting watching games?
2-2.
Right now, a ground ball to second base in particular. If you hit a grounder, make it to the Pedroia, it should score a run. Beltran, as Michael said, can get a decent lead over at third.
Right in on the hands.
Situational hitting. Things you work on in the batting cage.
Two. Blew it right by him. Jones down on strikes. That's a big strikeout from Masterson.
Tried to keep the ball in this whole at bat, and they want it right underneath the hands. Let's see if the ball is about right there. And there's a swing and a miss.
Kenny, even without peeking, if you're a batter and the catcher moves that much, don't you feel it?
You get a sense of movement back there. You can see the you can hear movement behind you, but you're not supposed to look. Now, he might have foul tipped it. He might have foul tipped it into the glove. It was a well executed pitch by Masterson.
Now here's Stephen Drew, who struck out in the second inning.
As of last week, when we were doing the games in New York, the Yankees were among the better teams at scoring with 2 outs. I think the Red Sox were the only team that had scored more runs with 2 outs than the Yankees had.
Red Sox very familiar with this batter. He was the shortstop in their 2013 World Series team. Now first base is open, and you've got Gregorius on deck. Drew with 4 home runs, and Gregorius doesn't have one.
Yeah, Drew just looked down at Joe Espada, and Espada had no sign for him. So I don't know, are you on your own here? Do you get something you like? You know, all this soft stuff that they're throwing him kind of tells me they're trying to pitch around him a bit.
There's a strike. Three infielders on the right side, and Sandoval on the left. The 3-1. Grounded to first, grabbed there by Napoli, flips to Masterson, who works out of a jam. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Alex Rodriguez with a coat on in the dugout, and when the lineup came out today, some eyebrows were raised that A-Rod was not in the lineup. And Meredith, I'm sure that was a point of questioning to Joe and to Alex before the game.
Michael, it certainly was, and Alex Rodriguez actually admitted earlier today that he was a little bit surprised when Joe Girardi texted him and said he wasn't going to be in this evening's lineup, but Alex Rodriguez told the media he completely understands it. Masterson obviously struggles a little bit more with lefties. Lefties hit .275 against him as opposed to right-handed batters who hit .194, so Rodriguez siding with his to when he hit number 500 and then 600. It took him 46 at-bats to hit that home run. Joe Girardi said he'd like for him to get it over with, not that he starts pressing at the plate and swinging at bad pitches. Meanwhile, for Rodriguez, if he were to do it here at Fenway, it really would all come full circle. He was reminiscing about making his major league debut here back in 1994, midsummer. He was an 18-year-old kid, and he just said he remembered how nervous he was walking into Fenway Park thinking, I just had my prom about a month ago. And obviously a lot has happened from now until then, but he's looking forward to hitting 660. And he was asked about how he thinks people will react, and he said simply, I can't control how other people view it. I can only control what I do from here, how I conduct myself both on and off the field. I can't decide for other people how they should think. You know, I have regrets, but I'm trying to do the best I can to finish my career on a high note.
Good stuff. Thank you, Meredith. So Alex not in the lineup. Garrett Jones, the DH, and ends up with a big strikeout with runners on second and third.
Yeah, Alex also talked about he was facing Roger Clemens, which made him even more nervous.
Well, there's no love lost between Boston and Alex. He's had some of his tough moments here, and you know that when he shows his face in a game this weekend, he's going to be booed as lustily as he will at any other ballpark. Swing and a miss as Napoli goes down the strikes. And the interesting thing, Kenny, is he was this close to being a Red Sox player. And when the Rangers were trying to trade him, they had a deal with the Red Sox, and Alex agreed to lessen the value of his contract by a little bit. The Players Association said, no, you cannot lessen the value of your contract. So the deal was voided. Then Aaron Boone decided to play in a basketball game, opened up third base. Yankees inquired, and they made the deal, and Alex Rodriguez was Yankee. Yeah,
part of the deal was, would you come and play third base?
Sandoval pops it up behind the plate, and McCann makes the play. Well, follow the New York Yankees all season in 2015 with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At bat is up to the moment and at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, statcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet today. It also bears noting that in the Yankees' 13-inning loss to the Tampa Bay Rays, that's about as bad a game as Alex has played in his career. He did not look good. He was 0 for 6 with 4 strikeouts. Ended the game with a double play ground ball. But you figured his breath would be the day off that the whole team got yesterday. But he found out he was sitting against Masterson today.
Yeah, he did mention the 0 for 6 with the 4 strikeouts. He says, and somebody asked him if he's going to remember it. He says, you try and forget those games as quickly as possible.
And you wonder if this little slump now is a case of the willies as he closes in on.
Oh, I see where you went. I saw where you went there.
High fly ball, left field. Let's see if he got enough. He got enough. Right over the monster for a solo home run. It's 2-1 Red Sox as Craig goes yard. That's his first home run of the year.
Yeah, John Farrell hasn't started Alan Craig very often, but he does tonight, and it pays off. The Red Sox take the lead 2-1. Kind of middle, just above knee high, and you can see him drop the bat, thinking, do I have enough? And barely so. He gets it over the green monster in left field for the home run that puts the Red Sox in front. Take a look at the swing on Yesmo, brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealer. There's the follow through by Alan Craig. see Gardner hoping for a carom off the wall that did not come.
Carom down in those seats. Used to be a screen up there. That's where the Bucky Dent home run landed in '78 on the screen, but they've since put seats up there. And when they first put seats up there, I remember Bucky went up to sit there. And it was a pretty cool moment.
Did he identify himself?
Oh, yeah. He didn't use the middle name that they give him here in Boston. For you younger viewers,
Mike Torres delivers.
What a great call by Bill White.
Three-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Now, I didn't get to hear Bill White's call because I was driving in a car.
I've talked to guys that were in that game because I'm so curious about it, and they said that when that ball landed on the screen, it was deathly silent in there, and the only people you heard, George Steinbrenner and a couple of Yankee executives were sitting to the home plate side of the Yankee dugout, and they were cheering, and that's all you heard in the ballpark as he rounded the bases.
Did you hear Goose Gossage popping the glove out in the bullpen because he was coming in?
And Reggie hit a home run later in the game, which looked like a tack on, but it turned out to be a huge home run in the game.
Reggie's went into the bleachers in center, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, Ron Guidry started that game for the Yankees, and he came in early and told Gene Monahan, the trainer, he said, I'm going to sleep underneath the trainer's table. I don't want anybody to bother me. He goes, anybody. He goes, if anybody bothers me, you're in trouble, Gene. And George Steinbrenner walked in to give Guidry a pep talk. He said, where's Guidry? And Monahan goes, I don't know. And he was under the table with towels over him.
That capped off an historic comeback for the Yankees that year. Now, earlier in this, didn't they come in here and then win like 4 in a row from the Red Sox?
The Boston Massacre.
Yep.
The 1-2. Now, the Yankees actually took a lead over the Red Sox in late September, and the Red Sox rallied to force that one-game playoff. Rick Waits got a big win. That one is lined to left field. It's a base hit. It's grabbed by a fan, and that hurts the Red Sox.
Yeah,
Bogarts would have scored. Brian Butterfield's waving him home, but the umpire will bring him back because that's a double. A fan reached over and turned an RBI into a double, and they'll now force Bogarts back to third.
Yeah, Brian Butterfield is talking with the umpires. And you can see Hannigan, who hangs in there again, puts on another tough at bat. And see the fan touch the ball, hit his glove. He couldn't catch it. That's why he's not playing left field.
Now, you know what their argument is, though, Kenny?
Where should the runner have been?
It's not an automatic that you put the runner at third. Now, if it bounces into the seats, but if it's fan interference, the umpire can make the judgment that Bogarts would have scored if the fan didn't touch the ball. So that's what they're talking about now with John Farrell.
Here's another look. You got Gardner coming over to play the ball off the wall. Where's Bogarts? He's not in the picture. They're waving it home, but the ball's already been touched to slow it down. Gardner's had to come get it again. This should be interesting as to see what the call is. Here's another look. Gardner's coming over to cut it off. The ball. See, he has to slow down, change direction, come in and get the ball. And I believe the call is going to stand. Bogaerts is headed back to third base. And usually that means that fans are ejected from the ballpark, correctly?
They could be, yes.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts takes outside, second, third.
Now here's Bogaerts coming. This is all linked up time-wise, and there's Gardner going for the ball. Now Gardner has to change directions and come on and make the play that he didn't really need to make. I don't think he would have scored.
The big batter here for CC, as the Yankees are down 2-1. You don't want this to turn into a big inning, so he's got to get Betts. .75 pitches for CC. Ground ball to second. Drew gets Betts, and that'll do it. But the Red Sox take the lead. 1 run, 2 hits, and 2 left. The 1 run came off the bat of Alan Craig. Typical Fenway Park home run just over the green monster. 2-1 Red Sox. D.D. Gregorius will lead off against Masterson. It'll be 9-1-2 in the Yankees order. Bigelow T scoreboard. Each team with 5 hits, 2-1 Sox. Chop, right side of the mound. Masterson gets Gregorius.
Here's that sinking fastball that D.D. tops in front of the mound. And Masterson was an all-star pitcher with Cleveland back in 2013. He won 14 games that year. Somewhat of an imposing presence. 6'6", 260 pounds out on the mound.
Here's Ellsbury, 1 for 2.
Watching Ellsbury doing batting practice, and Michael, he launched a few into the Yankee bullpen out there in right field. He got somewhat of the wind blowing from right to left, and he was just turning the wind around.
Two and one. Ellsbury scored the Yankees' only run in the first. Yankees have threatened, though. They had runners on second and third, 2 outs in the first. Headley grounded to second. Then they had second and third, 1 out. In the fourth, Garrett Jones struck out, and Stephen Drew grounded out the first. There's a base hit for Ellsbury. Well, you do not want to miss this special night at Yankee Stadium on Sunday, May 24th, when the Rangers take on the Yankees. Prior to the game, the Yankees will celebrate the career of 4-time world champion Bernie Williams with a special ceremony where the Yankees will retire his number 51 and dedicate a plaque in historic Monument Park. For tickets, visit Yankees.com or call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849.
Third straight multi-hit game for Jacoby Ellsbury.
Keeping him close.
One thing he does, he likes to get that walking lead over there, just the momentum headed towards the bag at second, and in doing so, he doesn't really take that huge lead and then try and accelerate. He's kind of moving, keep his body moving. It's interesting to watch he and Gardner, both good base stealers, in fact excellent base stealers, but how they go about it. Ellsbury, there's more movement around the bag at first. Gardner, when he takes a lead, it's a good one, and he's still until he decides to take off.
Fly ball left field. Ramirez makes the play, and Ellsbury goes back to first. Shift is on for Teixeira. Now, the way the shift is right now, if Ellsbury takes off, he could get to third if the Red Sox are not heads up and have Hannigan hustling down to third after he makes the throw, or the pitcher.
Well, they should be heads up because they saw their own player, Mookie Betts, do that about a week or so ago. 2 stolen bases on 1 pitch.
Saw Johnny Damon do that in 2009 against the Phillies in the World Series.
Yeah, that was big. Go, Johnny, go. There's looks to be a pinch out.
So many things go into a stolen base now. If he steals second, does he take the bat out of the hand of Teixeira? Then you have to trust McCann to do the job.
They also put another guy on base if they decide to pitch around Teixeira. Ellsbury's itching to go. At last step, he flinches like, nope, not quite the jump I want.
Usually Ellsbury goes very early in the count.
Maybe he's having trouble reading Masterson here. Masterson's a big guy. See how long it takes him to get rid of the ball here. Usually the bigger pitchers, it takes them a little longer. He's got a quick up and down with his left leg. So he gets rid of the ball fairly quickly. Good count for Teixeira here.
And he walked Teixeira, put runners on first and second with 2 outs, and bring up Brian McCann.
They talked about the Yankees in there scoring with 2 outs. Actually, they are now 5th in the major leagues, scoring with 2 outs.
McCann's 0 for 2 tonight. Fly ball to left and the ground ball to second. We're in the top of the 5th inning. It's 2-1 Red Sox. First game of a 3-game set in Boston. Tomorrow afternoon and then Sunday night. Did he go? Yes, he did, said Laz Diaz.
And we'll take a look. Yeah.
That hits McCann flush. That'll load the bases.
A little bit of a hitching to get along as he heads down to first base. Let's see, where does it get him? Just below the hip on the upper thigh. Nowhere to go. Couldn't get out of the way.
So here's Carlos Beltran in a big spot. He's 2 for 2 after coming off a 2 for 19 homestand. He's driven in a run with a double and then single to right. Bases loaded with the Yankees, top of the 5th. Ground ball to second. Pedroia is there, and that will do it. No runs, a hit, no errors, and the bases are left loaded. We're halfway through. It's 2-1 Sox. NHL playoff action. Don't miss Fox Sports Live tonight at 11. Oh boy, they're loaded today. Full coverage from Las Vegas on the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. What did Jameis Winston say after officially signing his contract with the Bucs? And our draft experts tell you which second-round quarterback could have the greatest impact. It's all on Fox Sports 1, or stay tuned for the simulcast of Fox Sports Live immediately following Yankees coverage right here on Yes. A full show. Bigelow T scoreboard. It's 2-1 Red Sox lead. And a 1-0 count on Pedroia.
Sabathia's had to work hard the last 2 innings. He's faced 12 batters, 6 in the third, 6 more in the fourth. Red Sox scoring a run in each one of the innings. And that's why his pitch count has jumped up to 78 now here in the 5th inning.
Deke there by Guccione.
Troy thought he had ball 4. Now the previous pitch had been inside, so sometimes it opens up the outside corner. This one actually hits the corner. Now we're faced with a payoff pitch to the leadoff hitter here in the 5th.
Slow roller up the third baseline, fielded by CeCe. And it's an infield single for Pedroia.
Sabathia does not bounce off the mound as well as he used to. And this is going to be a tough play regardless. The throw is offline, and Pedroia has himself an infield single. Trying to get rid of it quickly. It would have been a close play. He's had to deal with the issue of the bad knee, the landing knee, the right knee.
And the pitch to Ortiz is inside. Ortiz is 1 for 2 tonight. Fly ball to left. And a single left center. There's a strike.
His fastball has sat around 90 all night long, hasn't it?
Right in that general vicinity. Tried to check his swing, couldn't get out of the way, and the count 1-2. Did he go around? No, said Laz Diaz. Now he's hearing it from the Yankee dugout.
Yeah, he is. And we get another look, and let's see. Yeah, he did.
Now, how's that different
than
the...
Who was it?
I think it was... Now you give a great power hitter another pitch. Runner goes. Line drive. It's caught. It's going to be a double play. And it is. So a 5-3 double play. So two-way, and that'll bring up Hanley Ramirez. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the New York Yankees that may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. Ramirez 0 for 2 tonight. Ground ball is short. And a ground ball back to the mound. So with one line drive, you get 2 outs. Here in the bottom of the 5th. Grounded to short and under the glove of Gregorius. We'll see how they score that. Now, obviously, it should be an error, but you never know if it's home cooking.
I think that's an error. You're right. He was in front of it. Watch him get over. He's got the glove down. Came up too soon. And that will be an E6. Make CC work a little harder here in the 5th.
And that's Gregorius' 4th error of the season. And that one is driven into right center field. That's a base hit, and the Yankees luck out as it bounces into the seat. So Napoli with a double, that stops Ramirez at 3rd.
Well, Napoli's been struggling. One of the few Red Sox who hasn't been swinging the bat, but he got a pitch right down the middle almost. And he's going to chase Ramirez at 3rd. As Michael said, the pitch up, out over the plate. And drills it to the gap in right center field. Just hits that warning track and just springboards right over into the Red Sox bullpen. And Ramirez, you got to figure Ramirez would have scored. He's off at the crack of the bat with 2 outs. But he's going to have to hold at 3rd base.
Well, that's what that error does right there. Now he has to pitch out of this jam and also adding more pitches to his total. Yankee bullpen getting busy, and here's Sandoval. And a strike. Gets another shot. Gregorius fields. And a stretch by Teixeira, and that will do it here in the 5th. No runs, 2 hits, 1 error, and 2 men left on base. Let's go to the 6th. 2-1 Sox. New York City FC take on Clint Dempsey and the Seattle Sounders. Don't miss all the action Sunday at 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. All right, we go to the 6th inning here at a chilly Fenway Park. It's 2-1, Red Sox over the Yankees.
The Yankees been knocking on the door against Masterson, but they just can't come in the last couple of innings. Left the bases loaded last inning, 2 men on the inning before that.
Well, 5 innings that left 7 runners on. Headley had his double the last time up, 1 for 2. It's 2-2.
You watch Masterson this year. He came into this game when he gets 2 strikes on the hitter. Hitters were just 1 for 31 against him. That 1 hit went to Ian Desmond of the Nationals, and it was a single.
And the 3-2. Lined right at Pedroia. So the shift worked beautifully then for 1 out. Here's Garrett Jones. The DH tonight 0 for 2. And he struck out his last time up with runners on 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. And the infield back except on the left side with Pablo Sandoval.
He tried to jam him. And that first pitch is a breaking ball in. Trying to keep it in on his hands.
And a count 0-2. Now with 2 strikes, they move Sandoval over to the right side. And Bogart is the only one on the left side.
And the possibility is maybe they have the feeling that there'd be more apt to be a ground ball hit the other way, guarding with 2 strikes. So put the fielder with more range over on the left side. Feeling earlier in the count, he'll pull the ball, and you have the fielder with more range on that side of second base. These shifts go by the count now. How long are they supposed to go with this mustache thing, Robert?
I've not heard. Well, they're 10-3 since they started it, so I'm sure they go into a cold streak. But if they keep winning, might be a different story. Maybe Meredith knows. Meredith?
Well, Michael, they said they're going to continue it as long as they keep playing good baseball, and so far they have been doing that. More guys have been growing the mustaches, too. At first, it was just a couple of them, but a lot of members of the team have caught on, and Joe Girardi was even asked whether or not he's going to do it, and he could not commit just yet, but if they play some good baseball, he might.
That one's popped up to Bogarts. 2 outs. There is some precedent to this. Jason Giambi sported one.
Number 25.
You remember they gave away those mustaches? Mike Messina. But Jason's was real. You ever have a mustache or a beard?
I tried it this winter for a little bit, the mustache deal. After a while, I just.
Stephen Drew lost one to left field. Ramirez back on the track in front of the wall. He makes the play for the final out of a 1-2-3 inning. We go to the bottom of the 6th. It's 2-1 Red Sox. So get the inside story of Andy Pettit's dominant performance in Game 5 of the 1996 World Series. Chevy presents Yankeeography Moments of Glory tomorrow at 5:30, only on Yes. And the man he opposed in that game is in the ballpark today, John Smoltz. Here's Alan Craig. His home run broke a 1-1 tie. We're at 2-1 here in the bottom of the 6th. And there's a strike.
Hey, by the way, CC Sabathia has a couple of strikeouts tonight. He's tied Jim Cott for 31st on the all-time strikeout list. 2,461.
As Will Rogers up.
A couple of years ago when Alan Craig was with the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cardinals as a team, I believe they hit well over 300 with runners in scoring position. They just had a fantastic year as a team getting men home. And during those 2 years, 2 of those years, he hit 400 one year and 429 the next year with runners in scoring position. That's unbelievable.
That's money.
Yeah, it is.
Two. Strike 3. Craig down looking.
And Jim Cott in the rearview mirror. Third strikeout for CC Sabathia. And maybe Craig thought it was a little low, but it was high enough.
There's Bogarts with a double and a walk.
Good changeup. Yeah, one reason that Rogers is warming up, you can see CC is approaching 100 pitches.
See, Bogaerts wears number 2, and he does that for one reason. Grew up idolizing Derek Jeter.
The captain's going to leave a legacy in this game. Not just a bunch of statistics.
Red Sox had one of the nicer ceremonies last year for Jeter. The going away ceremonies that each team in their final hosting of the Yankees put together. 3-1. And there's the field where Derek Jeter played his final game. Got an infield hit, got taken out of the game, and that was it. Foul ball. Not much room.
Oh, my goodness.
Here's the ceremony they had for Derek last year. Really very, very well done. A lot of teams did a good job with this, but they brought out Boston captains. Bobby Orr was here. They presented him with second base. Xander Bogaerts was part of that as well. And that was from the scoreboard. Pretty cool.
Bobby Orr, Carl Yastrzemski, Paul Pierce. Yeah.
And I think Troy Brown of the Patriots was part of that. 3-2. High fly ball, left field. Drifting back, Gardner still back. But he has room and makes the play for the second hit. And if you want to go down memory lane, we'll give you a look at Derek Jeter's final hit.
We're going to be wearing number 2s around Yankee Stadium and throughout baseball for a long time.
Just no one on the field.
That's true.
Hannigan 1 for 2.
Years ago, the first interview I ever did on a TV was with Harry Caray, and it was opening day at Wrigley Field, and Harry said over the years he's seen some great ball players come and go, but the game keeps going on and the people keep coming out. So what he's saying is the game is what people come to see, and they have the memories of the great players and they take them along with them and pass it along to other generations. It's not just a bunch of statistics in a book. It's about, the older people telling the younger people what they saw, the players that they've seen in the past, and that's, Derek Jeter kind of falls in that category now. Although now they have better video of
yes
of what he's done.
Count 3-2, so CeCe's come back from 3-0 to work at the 3-2 against the number 9 hitter, Ryan Hannigan. Almost getting the sense if he loses him, he might be out of the game with 109 pitches, and you see the breakdown there. Diving stop there by Teixeira. Will CeCe get over? Yes, he does. He beats Hannigan to the bag for the final out of the 6th. So CC retires the Red Sox in order 1, 2, 3. We're going to the 7th. It is 2-1 Red Sox.
Starting pitchers brought to you by Verizon Fios, the fastest, most reliable internet. The Yankees will hand the ball to Nathan Eovaldi. He comes into this one 1-0 with an ERA just over 4. He's making his 5th start of the season. He last started Sunday against the Mets. He lasted just 4 1/3 innings. One thing he said after that one, he needs to be more economical with his pitches. He wasn't able to get them deep into the game. He'd oftentimes get ahead of hitters and just wasn't able to finish them off. Meanwhile, he'll be opposed by left-hander Wade Miley, who comes in at 1-2 with an ERA over 8. He has really struggled to start the season. 2 of his starts, he didn't even give the Red Sox a shot in the game. He said he realizes that people are upset with him. No one is more upset with him than he is. He expects more out of himself, and he realizes that this Fenway crowd is not going to be very nice to him until he starts pitching a little bit better on the mound. One thing that he said he needed to do is also give them a chance early, not get them in a hole early on.
Count 2-1 on Gregorius. Meredith, I do have to ask you, and I don't mean this in a funny way, is it really cold at field level?
Yes, it is very cold. Every now and again there is a wind that comes in, but it's about 40 degrees down here. And Michael, you know me, anytime it dips below about 70, I can't really handle myself outside.
70.
No, that's her limit, Kenny. 70. 69 and 68, she's done. It's over. We will see Meredith later, and on the postgame, of course, with Bob and Jack. So the count 3-1 on Gregorius leading off the 7th against Masterson. Yankees trail 2-1. Gregorius goes down, fouling one off his foot.
That never feels good, even on warm days. Oh, this is going to hurt. Back foot. I can still feel those. Trying to walk it off now.
So the count is full. And Gregorius works a leadoff walk. Let's see how the bottom of the 6th ended.
Well, CC Sabathia is going to fall off to the third base side. You can see, but he has to make a complete turn and then race Hannigan to the bag and beats him by about a half a step. And CeCe, it took him a while to get back to the dugout. Remember, he's got that sore right knee. That's the one he steps on the bag. You see this on Yesmo, and he's wearing a brace, trying to slow it down.
So CeCe collects himself. Yankees have the leadoff runner on here in the 7th inning, and John Farrell is going to go to the bullpen. He makes the Verizon Fios call to the bullpen as Masterson gets a nice hand here at Fenway Park. People's United Bank NA, where our know-how starts with knowing you. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by your Tri-Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Tri-Honda dealer for great deals on the 2015 models. Well, Hanley Ramirez talking with the cameraman in the Green Monster as they Meredith came up to the booth and her hands are ice cold.
Yeah, they are.
This will be Lane's 5th game. And Ellsbury, who's 2 for 3, is up. Gregorius leads off first, held there by Napoli.
John Farrell makes the move. 3 of the next 4 scheduled hitters are left-handed batters. Well, they don't seem to bother Ellsbury. He's one of the better hitters in the league against lefties. He came in tonight .440 against lefties.
Pops that one up. And Bogarts makes the play for the first out. That's going to bring up Gardner, who's 1 for 3. That's Masterson's line. Gregorius is his responsibility. And a strike. Tried to hold up, went through.
You can see where Lane could be difficult for lefty. He kind of slings it, throws across his body. He's made 2 good pitches on Gardner. I think this count started.
Rogers still warming. You never see Gardner look that uncomfortable, and he certainly looked uncomfortable against Lane. Goes down on strikes.
Hides the ball well, kind of a slider down and away. Gardner tried to check, but went around too far.
Teixeira turns around to the right side, takes a strike. Junichi Tozawa is ready. Slice foul. Tony Pena leans out of the way. Top of the 7th inning, it's 2-1 Red Sox. First game of a 3-game set. Along with Ken Singleton and Meredith Morakovitz, I'm Michael Kay, and we thank you for watching Yankees baseball here on Yes. And Lane steps off.
It's interesting how they play Teixeira defensively while he's batting right-handed. The outfielders are straight away. When he's batting left-handed, they are playing him to pull.
That got Teixeira and got Hannigan. Both of them are shaking their hands.
It looks like Hannigan's the one who's worse for the wear here. And Teixeira's down to first base. And we're going to slow it down here. Take a look. Looks like it got Teixeira in the wrist and Hannigan in the hand. Man. 2 for the price of 1. See Teixeira trying to pull the hands in, gets him, and then directly ricochets off his wrist. He gets Hannigan on the bare hand, the throwing hand. Tony Pena giving him the hang in there.
Still tending to Hannigan.
He still doesn't look comfortable.
You get nervous with anything with Teixeira's right wrist. That's where he had the surgery that really set him back for a couple of years.
And the backup catcher is Sandy Leon. He's
going to take Hannigan out.
He's out of the game. That
looked like the baseball.
Yeah, direct hit.
I told you they've already lost one catcher, Christian Vasquez. So now Sandy Leon will take over behind the plate. Tomorrow afternoon on Yes, this series continues here at Fenway as the Yankees and the Red Sox collide in a Saturday matinee. Coverage on Yes starts at 12:30 with Audi batting practice today and the Tri-State Ford pregame. Then Kenny and I are back with the call shortly after 1:30 right here on Yes. And if Meredith thaws out, she'll be here as well. That's certainly not a great sign.
No. You know, the Red Sox, if depending on, I'm sure they're going to get Hannigan back for x-rays, and the Red Sox are keeping their fingers crossed, so to speak, that he'll be okay. Teixeira still holding on to that wrist. And Sandy Leon takes over as the catcher. The Red Sox do have a young catcher in the minor leagues that everybody was asking for in the trade, and they refused to give up. Blake Swihart. Switch hitting catcher. They've had success with switch hitting catchers in the past here.
Red Sox bench just 3 players. Now it's left with Daniel Nava, a switch hitter, and Brock Holt. Because they carry 8 relievers. All right, big spot here for Brian McCann. Tying runs at second base. We're in the 7th inning. It's 2-1 Red Sox, 2 outs. Lane deals. And a strike.
Sharon still flexing that wrist over their first base.
Looped into left field. Does it find grass? Yes, it does. It's a base hit. Gregorius is coming home. The throw is cut off. It's an RBI single for McCann, and the Yankees have tied the game at 2.
One of the left-handed hitters comes through in a big spot. McCann's been driving in runs lately. He's got 6 runs batted in his last 5 or so games. Kind of fights that one off, just loops it over shortstop in front of Hanley Ramirez in left field. And with 2 outs, Gregorius is off with the crack of the bat. And the throw's going to be cut off by Sandoval. Crack of the bat, he's gone. So the leadoff walk comes in to score.
And Beltran pops it up. Pedroia calls off Napoli, and that will do it. But the Yankees tie the score, 1 run, 1 hit, and 2 men left on base. Time for the 7th inning stretch.
It's a big game with flashes around.
Oh, that's outstanding. Yeah. That is good times for the listeners. So I'm glad John's there, and they'll all be back for the postgame. Meredith will join them as well. Well, Sabathia is done. Esmiel Rogers comes in, so no decision for CeCe. His ERA will go down. And Rogers will pitch in his 7th game. He's going to face at the top of the Red Sox order.
The good numbers for Rogers. 16 strikeouts and 15 in the third.
High pop-up. In the stands. Betts tonight is 0 for 2. Had a sac fly to center. That tied the game at 1. That was in the third inning. Then the Red Sox scored a run in the fourth to make it 2-1. And the Yankees just plated one in the seventh to make it 2-2. Rogers works from the stretch. Yankee bullpen this year, 1.75 ERA in the early going. In their last 13 games, it's even better, 0.84 ERA. And opponents hitting 110 against them.
And there's one caveat to that, though, Michael, that they've thrown the second most innings. Only the Red Sox bullpen has thrown more innings.
Certainly not a compliment to the starting staff when you throw that many. Now, they've had a couple of extra inning games in there.
Yes, they've had 19.
Might skew it a bit.
13.
Popped up. McCann makes the play for the first out. David Carpenter and Justin Wilson up. So two teams who have not had trouble scoring runs. 2-2 here in the bottom of the seventh inning on a chilly Friday in Boston. So the decision will go to the bullpen in this one. Both starters are out. And a strike.
Now this will not be one of those games, but you know, one of the reasons why the bullpen is so good because it strikes so many people out. You know, nothing. Base runners, if they're on, they don't move. Yankee pitching 208 strikeouts. 12 games the Yankees have had this year with 10 or more strikeouts.
Well, when Brian Cashman was building his bullpen, you could see what he's trying to do. Just get guys that throw hard. That's the trend in Major League Baseball. Have guys that come in and throw, for the most part, harder than your starters. Swing and a miss.
Pitch. And these two teams, it seems to be a battle of facial here. The Red Sox with the beards, of course. It's been going on for a few years. And the Yankees now with the mustaches. Good slider down and away. Droy chases. Maybe we should try it this winter, Michael. Go for the beard look. I'll text you pictures. No?
You want me to do it?
Yeah. Just over the winter, not during the season.
Like Grizzly Adams.
No, you know, mine will be one of those beards you could take to dinner. Salt and pepper.
I think mine's just going to be salt. 2-2. Also, I don't want to scare the kids.
As long as you keep putting food out there, you won't be scaring them.
Yeah, but if they see food in the beard, that would be good. So Pedroia's working the count full. Headley is deep at third. 6 feet off the line. Rogers deals. And Pedroia works a 1-out walk. So he's on base for the third time tonight. 2 walks, an infield single, and also had a fly ball to left. And here is Ortiz.
The Yankee bullpen did get a well-deserved day off yesterday. Coming into this series. I bet you Joe Girardi and the coaches looked at that one day off coming into a Red Sox series, and their thoughts right away, well, we'll have a rested bullpen coming into this series. The Red Sox are thinking the same thing. Trying to clip that outside corner with breaking balls.
Strike.
Stayed with it. Mookie Betts is really the only Red Sox player that runs, at least in this lineup tonight. It's 5 out of 6. Red Sox have 12 steals and Betts has 5 of them.
See if they turn 2. There's 1. A 5-5-3 double play as the inning is over. So Esmiel Rogers works a scoreless 7. We'll take it to the 8th, tied at 2. Our studio team will recap the key moments from tonight, including scores and updates from around the league, plus the clubhouse reaction and Joe Girardi's manager's report. It's all coming up. It's right here on Yes. New pitcher for the Red Sox, Junichi Tazawa. His 12th game, and he has pitched very well.
got a very good splitter. Fastball that he usually keeps away from the lefties with some movement.
Chase Headley at the plate, and Alex Rodriguez has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit for Garrett Jones, and that's why you hear the boos in the background.
And he's got some history with Giselle.
Hyundai scoreboard 2-2. Grounded into the teeth of the shift for the second time. Pedroia makes the play.
Attention, please.
This was when he saw Tazawa. Being greeted here at Fenway Park. His first game at Fenway in 19 months. Well, this is about as loud a reaction as he's going to get. I think even louder than it will be in Seattle and Texas.
Well, this is sustained. There hasn't been any let up.
659 home runs for Alex Rodriguez, one away from Willie Mays to tie him fourth place on the all-time list. And the pitch is outside, 1-0. As we mentioned, Alex has had some history here. Had that little dust up with Jason Varitek, where Varitek shoved his glove in his face, knocked the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's hand in the 2004 playoffs at first base. And that was at Yankee Stadium. And got hit by Ryan Dempster when he came back from suspension. And we mentioned he was almost a Red Sox. 2-0.
Just the fact that he's hit 53 home runs against the Red Sox doesn't make their fans any happier.
Well, he is one away from tying the great Willie Mays, considered by many to be the greatest living ball player. And let's see if Girardi gives him a green light on 3-0. That one is drilled to left field. Is it high enough? It is gone. See ya. A pinch hit. Home run for Alex Rodriguez. Number 660, tying him with Willie Mays for fourth place on the all-time home run list. And he does it in dramatic fashion, giving the Yankees a 3-2 lead.
Well, Michael, you called it. Had the green light. 3-0 pitch from Tazawa. The history was there. Joe Girardi knew about it. Sends him up the pinch hit, and the Yankees have the lead. It was a line drive over the monster in left field. And you can see the Yankees congratulating A-Rod. And Michael, you know, milestone home run as far as what he's done here. But you know, there are fans who are going to feel good about it. There are fans who aren't going to be very happy about it.
Well, Kenny, I think what it comes down to is it now is the fans' responsibility, each one, to put it into the context they feel is right. We've known about the suspension. We've known about the PED use. And whether or not you think it's a legitimate 660, that's up to each and every one of you. You know, to borrow a phrase, we report, you decide. It's 660 on the all-time list. Baseball's counting all 660. Now you have to decide what context you want to put in.
Yeah, that's not going to change. He's going to remain on that list.
Right.
Like Barry Bonds is atop the list.
And how sweet it must be for Alex. That line drive pierced the boos that were raining down on him for the entire at-bat since he came out on the on-deck circuit. There's a high pop-up. And the catch is made for the second out.
History one way or the other, folks. You decide. Even the great Willie Mays said he's not really concerned about Alex Rodriguez catching him. In fact, Willie says, I've got other records. And there it is. Number 660.
Now, obviously a Red Sox fan, he holds the ball, and then a security person from Fenway will take him to the side. And it's funny because Dan Shaughnessy wrote a column today in the Boston Globe, their longtime columnist, and said if he does hit his 660th here, what will a Red Sox fan do? Will he throw the ball away? Will he destroy it? Will he hold it ransom for over A-Rod and ask for a king's return? So we'll see what that young man does. They're all saying throw it back. He's refusing to do that because I think he thinks he has a lottery ticket there. So Fenway Park security will remove him. Not throw him out, obviously, but to talk with the Yankees about what A-Rod wants to give up for that baseball. As D.D. Gregorius picks up a single to left field.
Well, Michael, I during spring training when A-Rod hit 3 home runs, we could see this day coming. Because it was obvious he still had something left in spring training. And on May 1st, 2015, this happens. And he is now tied with the great Willie Mays.
Kind of a funny scene. The guy's all upset, but he's keeping the ball.
Yeah, it is.
And that's a
they
balk.
Call the balk.
So Gregorius will move into scoring position. So Barry Bonds sits atop the list at 762, and then you've got Hank Aaron at 755, Ruth at 714. A-Rod and Mays are now tied at 660. As a trip to the mound by Wandy Evans. It's a very, very complicated situation because Major League Baseball has not said anything about taking home runs away and what should count and what home run should weigh the most. And I think if you ask certain people, they'll say, who's the home run king? A lot of people tell you Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron, yeah.
But it is Barry Bonds. And if you ask people, well, who's in 4th place? They'll say Willie Mays. But according to the number, Alex Rodriguez is tied at 660. Now, do you consider it the same 660 as Mays? And again, we repeat, that's up to you to decide. Everybody has the right. And your opinion's not wrong. The other person's opinion's not wrong. But everybody's got one about this. Every baseball fan has one. There's Ellsbury. Fouled away.
It's interesting because Alex didn't even start the game tonight. He got one shot at it. And he delivered on a 3-0 pitch. He said he was disappointed that he didn't get a chance to start, but he trusts his manager. His manager put him in there at the optimum situation because he had some history against Tozawa. And he took him deep. You know what? It wasn't much history. It was only 3 for 14, but one of the 3 was a homer.
And the 0-2. Now, one thing that we know was historic about that home run, you can't argue. That's the first pinch hit home run in Alex's career. He was disappointed he wasn't in the lineup today. That's his word. He said he understood what the manager was doing, but he still was disappointed, wanted to play. And he gets his chance here in the 8th inning, gets a green light on 3-0 and hits a laser into the second row over the Green Monster to give the Yankees a 3-2 lead. 1-2. Didi's going to third. He'll make it. Heads up base running.
I believe that'd be a wild pitch in the dirt that Leon could not handle. Yep, in the dirt. Off the webbing, and he's still looking for it. And when he looks up again, Gregorius is going to be on third base.
Ground ball to first. Napoli steps on the bag, and that will do it. But the Yankees take the lead. And Alex Rodriguez, with fans standing up and booing him, gets a green light on 3-0. His first pitch hit home run, and that ties it with the great Willie Mays, 4th place on the all-time home run list. Presbyterian, the official hospital of New York Yankees. Amazing things are happening here.
3-0 pitch right down Broadway. And now gone. There's a follow through. Number 660.
Dylan Betances on for the Yankees. Chris Young takes over and right. There's a ground ball to second off the bat of Ramirez. There's one away. So this is his 12th game. 19 strikeouts in 12 and 3rd innings. Last time we saw him in the extra inning game, he was limping up the mound. We found out he had a blister on his toe. So it wasn't any groin injury or hamstring injury.
Yeah, there was some concern at Yankee Stadium. Especially now that Betances seems to have righted himself. His breaking ball has a lot more sharper break to it. His fastball is getting back up in the upper 90s. It's a case of mechanics.
Hyundai scoreboard 3-2. Yankees lead the Sox. Napoli takes a strike.
During the press conference that Alex had before the game, there were several questions about Willie Mays, and he said, he's a legend. He said all the right things, iconic American baseball player. I believe he said that his dad's favorite player.
Right.
And this is the reception he got as his teammates realize, well, not only do they have the lead, but it's been an historic home run to boot. I know a lot of the fans out there may be too young to have seen Willie Mays play. But he was more than just a home run hitter. You've heard people say a player could do it all. He could do everything. And with a flair, too, that made him even more special to the fans. Here's a look at Chris Young now playing right field. Takes over for Beltran. The Yankees now with a 1-run lead.
There's a walk to Napoli. We all know about Willie Mays. What a career. Started with the New York Giants in 1951 with a long offer, but he won the Rookie of the Year. 2-time MVP, 24-time All-Star, 12 Gold Gloves. What a center fielder. 3,283 hits to go along with the 660 home runs, and got into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1979. The Say Hey Kid. Now, Alex Rodriguez worked with Barry Bonds during the war. And Willie Mays is Barry Bonds' godfather. Yeah. And Alex told him at the time, I'm even catching you. He's got a long way to go to catch Barry Bonds at 762, but I think he's done more already than most people thought he was going to be able to do after sitting out last year with the suspension.
We're talking about Mays, and here's some more examples of what he was able to do. He led the National League in home runs 4 times, triples 3 times, slugging 5 times, stolen bases 4 times, and a stat they didn't use back in the day, but wins above replacement 9 times. So that's the type of player he was. 2-time MVP.
Remember, he had 660 home runs, and half of his career was spent at Candlestick Park.
Yeah. More than half.
Yeah.
Wasn't a good hitter's park. Today would have been a nice day there. It was cold.
There's a line drive to left field, a base hit for Sandoval. To that point, Dellin Betances had retired 26 straight batters. So he was 1 away from his own personal relief no-hitter. He did have the walk to Napoli, and Sandoval gets the hit. Brock Holt is going to pinch hit for Alan Craig, as the Red Sox are threatening.
Here's the Red Sox utility man extraordinaire. 12 starts, which have been at 6 different positions. And I was out here early today, and he was taking ground balls at third, at short. He started 2 games in center field, 3 in right, 1 in left. pinch hitting. He's 0 for 1 this year as a pinch hitter.
Three-two Yankees. We are in the bottom of the 8th. Red Sox threatening. Runner at second and a runner at first. The runner at second is Napoli. Sandoval's at first, so not exactly blinding speed on the bases for the Red Sox. Holt fouls it off in front of the plate. So the count 1-2. One and two on the pinch hitter Holt. Betances deals. He struck him out.
Nasty breaking ball. I was talking about the fact this breaking ball now is going straight down. Early this year was kind of sliding across like that. It was more hittable. And even so, they weren't really tattooing Betances. They had trouble, but this one is very nasty. He's got it back, folks.
And now he'll face Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts a double, a run scored, a walk, and a fly ball to left. Breaking ball hung up there, but Bogaerts took it. It's called a ball. There's a strike.
The ability to get this pitch over the plate for a strike in hitters' counts. It was more like a cutter. It didn't have the sharp break the earlier ones had. Bogaerts thought it was too high.
Swing and a miss. 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. Yankees lead 3-2, bottom of the 8th. Betances on the mound.
More like a slider than that sharp breaking ball they had earlier. And he struck out Holt.
Does he go fastball here or go back to the breaking ball? Or stay with the breaking ball? Time is called. Chris Guccione jogs out to the right from behind home plate. The 2-2. Swing and a miss. A filthy fastball by Dellin Betances, who runs off the mound, pumped up as he keeps the Red Sox at bay. No runs to hit, no errors, and 2 men left. Let's go to the 9th. 3-2 Yanks. from 35,444 fans here at Fenway Park. Gave the Yankees a lead and also moved into a tie for 4th place with Willie Mays on the all-time home run list with 660. Dellin Betances, channeling his inner Jabba, came off the mound and really was pumped up, as he did a good job. Brock Holt takes over in right field for the Red Sox. And the new pitcher for the Red Sox is Robbie Ross Jr.
Here's a look at Betances coming off the mound. I think that's the most animated I've ever seen him.
Andrew Miller up for the Yankees. See Holt there in right. A pinch hit for Craig. Now Andrew Miller is returning to Boston. Boston traded him to Baltimore. He became a free agent, signed with the Yankees. And he was asked at the stadium on Wednesday, how do you think your reception is going to compare to Alex? He said, I think it would be a little better than Alex's. Count 3-1.
Very nice talk with Andrew Miller the other day. Interesting young man. We're talking about another Miller, Marvin Miller.
And Gardner with a walk against Ross.
I think he's looking for his insurance here. He's been on base 3 times, and the other time he hit do a double play.
Shattered bat. Grabbed there by Pedroia as one play makes it at first. As Gardner moves into scoring position.
Yeah, it had been too tough a play for Pedroia to go to second. His momentum was taking him towards first base. You see he's going to get in on the hands of Teixeira. He's looking for a new piece of lumber. And you can see Pedroia coming into your picture here. And no chance to make a play on Gardner. Takes the sure out, and the Yankees have a runner in scoring position.
So here's McCann. And there's a strike. Oh, 2. McCann tied the game in the 7th. Dunked a single in the left field in front of Ramirez. That scored Gregorius. And set up the dramatic home run by A-Rod in the 8th.
Robbie Ross working for the Texas Rangers. of their bullpen. He originally signed with Texas. The Red Sox got him in a deal. You know, Joseph warming up in the Red Sox bullpen. He's been a recent addition to their pen.
Served down the left field line. Fair ball. It's trouble. It's a foul ball.
Ball slicing off the bat of McCann. He might have broken his bat on that play. If he needs another bat, but he'll take another look at it. As Michael said, there's not much room down that left field line. That pitch was a ball. And he stayed with him, just trying to slap it the other way. That's 2 foul balls that have gotten in there tonight. Go the rest of the year, that won't happen.
Gardner leads off second. And the 1-2 is fouled away.
McCann does a very good job of hanging in against left-handed pitchers. You very rarely see him give ground. He's already been hit by a pitch tonight. Of course, that wasn't by a lefty, but he keeps that front shoulder driving towards the pitcher.
Strangely, a lot of people in the crowd have left. I mean, it's a one-run game, and it's Friday. I know it's cold, but it seemed like after the A-Rod home run, people just picked up and left. As McCann goes down on strikes.
Let's see what he gets him with here. Yeah, went to the slider.
So they're going to intentionally walk Chris Young, and they'll take their chances with Headley. Yankees tonight are 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. The Red Sox 0 for 6.
Be wondering what the Red Sox are thinking. Well, Chris Young's been swinging a pretty good bat, but Headley's a switch hitter. He's going to go up there right-handed, but his average is lower from the right-hand side of the plate. Although he did hit a home run the other day at the Yankee Stadium batting right-handed. It was a laser into the lower deck in left field.
So Young will walk, and the Red Sox challenge Headley here. Headley 1 for 4 tonight. 2 times he'd lined into the teeth of the shift with Pedroia standing in short right field. But now they will not shift. Obviously, he's batting from the right side. And runners on first and second. Pedroia shades up the middle, but he is on the first base side of the bag. And there's the strike. 0-1. 1-1. Yankees got a run in the first. Red Sox came back with a run in the bottom of the third and another one in the bottom of the fourth, made it 2-1. Stayed that way until the seventh, when McCann dumped a single to left field to score Gregorius, and then the Yankees took the lead on a pinch hit home run by Alex Rodriguez, his first pinch hit home run of his career, and also the 660th home run of his career.
Now here's something to think about. By walking Chris Young, they bring Alex Rodriguez to the one batter coming to the plate.
Yep. Holt will make the catch, so A-Rod will not get to the plate unless there are extra innings. Yankees strand 2. Andrew Miller will come on and try to close it out. Andrew Miller will try to close it out for the Yankees. He'll face 9-1-2 in the Red Sox order. Leon, the only catcher left for the Red Sox, had to come in for Hannigan, who hurt his right hand on a ball that hit the right wrist of Teixeira. So Leon will have to bat against Miller.
It's interesting because Mookie Betts started towards the batter's box, and Leon had to tell him, no, I'm hitting first in this inning.
So Leon, Betts, and Pedroia. 3-2 Yankees, first game of a 3-game set. Headley close to the bag at third. Hone's popped up. Teixeira makes the play for the first out. Now Andrew Miller's career got turned around here when he was with the Red Sox. He was drafted high in the first round by the Tigers, bounced around, Tigers, Mariners, not Mariners, Marlins, and then the Red Sox. And he just couldn't get it going. And finally, Bobby Valentine, who was the manager of the Red Sox at the time, worked with him and said, listen, this isn't working. Let's shorten everything up. Don't stride so much. And after that, you see how it changed. 5.79 ERA to 2.57. And he really has adapted to the bullpen. And essentially, Kenny, what he did was get rid of his windup.
Yeah, just we see several pitchers do that. They're trying to make things a little bit more compact, and usually helps with their control. Red Sox, who were going nowhere last year, they knew that Miller could become a free agent, so they traded him to Baltimore for a young pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, who was a pretty good pitcher from the Orioles, who's now in the Red Sox organization. And Miller, of course, helped solidify the Oriole bullpen as they went on to win the division title and got to the American League Championship Series before being bounced out by the Kansas City Royals. And Miller did become a free agent. The Yankees signed him.
He goes around and bets down on strikes. 2 away here in the bottom of the 9th inning. So here is Pedroia.
This guy is as tough out as the Red Sox have.
And Miller deals 96 miles an hour, 1-0. What's left of the crowd? They're standing, hoping something happens here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Yankees 3, Red Sox 2. Yankees are in first place in the East. Red Sox right behind them. 2-0.
If the Yankees hold on here and win, they would break the Red Sox string of winning the first game of each series so far this year.
Line drive right at Headley, and the Yankees win the game 3-2. So the first game of the series goes to the Yankees, and the emotion of the game goes to the Yankees as well. CC Sabathia persevered. Yankees battled back from a 2-1 deficit to tie it. But Kenny, the story of this game is going to be the one swing by Alex Rodriguez to give the Yankees a lead. His first pinch hit home run of his career, and obviously home run number 660, which ties him with the legendary Willie Mays for 4th place on the all